Today we are going to learn the lesson in history, that is second semester first lesson, that is freedom movement. Who don't want freedom? Everyone likes to be free themselves. So if your parents or any of your family members restrict you to do certain things, you will be always against them and you will be asking the reason why we supposed to do or not, what is the reason. So all these questions you will start asking. See, our country was ruled by Britishers more than 200 years. Each individual are having different types of questions that they're supposed to come over with the problems given by the Britishers. That is torturing and making them to pay taxes even though they are facing the famine and the floods and the drought time. And even they supposed to grow the indigo crops, which are not at all useful for any food, which is not at all useful for any of us. It is useful only for Britishers for the commercial purpose. So likewise, they tortured Indians to grow their interest of the crops, and they supposed to pay more and more taxes. All these were fed up and they just want to start a group of like-minded people, that is the education of English helped them to unite, and they started questioning that even England people are getting all the freedom, liberty and the fraternity and so many facilities given by the British government. Why can't we afford the same? So likewise, English language made like-minded people to question more and more. On that time, the two members helped these Indian like-minded people to establish their own Indian National Congress. They are the A.O. Hume, that is one of the greatest soldier, and the commander, he supported the Indians. Along with that, Anna Besant and so many others also given support to Indians to form their own Congress. Through that they can appeal the British government to attain the freedom. For these things, we are going to learn in this lesson the three divisions of the moderates, radicals and the revolutionaries. First, all the like-minded people formed their own group and started agitating against the Britishers. They comes under moderates. They were sustained from 1885 to 1905, when the Bengal was divided by the British officer, that is Curzon. After that, the radicals started making their own group and fighting against the Britishers in a different manner, like using the placard, shouts and slogans. They went against the Britishers. Finally, the revolutionaries who used the weapons and started agitating against the Britishers. So all these three groups, how they fought against the Britishers, that we are going to learn in this lesson in detail. If you like this video, please share and subscribe. Thank you. Chapter 7, the Freedom Movement. Highlights of the lesson. Here you are going to learn about the three different groups, that is moderates, radicals and revolutionaries. And the first part of the lesson will be introduction of the rise of nationalism and Indian National Congress. Rise of nationalism. Now you are observing all over the world, each nation they'll say they are great. Likewise, our country is also having a greatness in many ways. So the nationalism grew among the Indians for the sake of freedom movement. So the rise of nationalism, with the implementation of Act 1861, the participation of Indians in the legislation process was unheard in. As a result of all these, the educated youth started sharing the ideas of nationalism with ordinary people. Nationalism found its root as a concrete concept in Indian National Congress. Many Indians who learned the English education just wanted to form their own group. They formed their own group and started knowing about the India's situation and just want to fight against the Britishers through the constitutional method and the smooth process. So that they just want to introduce one more party, and they started following their own group that is known as Indian National Congress. Indian National Congress, if they form the Indian National Congress, it will give the clear support by each and everyone. Through that Congress, they can appeal the demands to the Britishers. Through this Indian National Congress, they started asking the demands for their own country. So it was started by A.O. Hume in the 1885. So individually or grouply, if you go and fight against the Britishers, and there won't be any fruitful result. That's why the English civil servant, that is a retired British civil servant A.O. Hume, told the Indians to form their own Congress, and through that Congress they can ask the demand. It was established in 1885 in the National Convention held at Bombay. So, what are the factors led to establish the INC, that is Indian National Congress? The first one is the First War of Indian Independence in 1857 led to the development of this political awakening in India. All the educated youth, those who learned the English education, they came to know the liberty, equality enjoyed by the English people. Likewise, even Indians wanted to get the same. So that's why they joined in Indian National Congress. And Vernacular Press Act was implemented to curb the independence of the press. We are having language oriented press, means each individual, they started their own newspapers, that is Kesari in Maratha and Bengal Gazette in English, and many other their own language, Mangaluru Samachara in Karnataka. Each and every area they started their own language oriented press. Vernacular Press Act was stopped because they provoked the Indians to join in the freedom movement through their own language slogans. This was attracted by each individuals of India and started joining into the Indian National Congress and to fight against the Britishers to obtain the freedom. So, among that Indian National Congress, there were three distributions. One is moderates, another one is radicals, the third one is the revolutionaries. So, to know about the three groups, first one is known as moderates. Who were the moderates? The moderates, the first 20 years of Indian National Congress from 1885 to 1885 to 1905, till this 20 years will be called as the age of moderate, or the age of generous nationalism. These people are known as moderate. Traditionally, the first 20 years of the Indian National Congress is called as the moderates. Who are they? W.C. Banerjee, M.G. Ranade, Surendranath Banerjee, Dadabhai Naoroji, Gopalakrishna Gokhale were the major moderate leaders. So what they did, they were having a faith in the rule of British and judiciary. They used to table their demands with the framework of the constitution through prayers and request. They started giving the demands to Britishers through the invitation, that is the demands they started asking in a constitutional method. So this constitutional method was, of course, 50% they got result, but it is not up to the mark. They submitted the memorandum demanding cutting down of military expenditure, development of Indian industries, providing good education and programs for poverty alleviation. All these demands they asked, but even though Britishers did not given any priority to that. Moderates were the first to study the ill effects of British rule on India. They explained the drain of the resources of India into England. Drain is nothing but they are supposed to pay the tax, means who the farmers are supposed to pay the taxes even drought, famine, and floods any time. They're supposed to pay the taxes. And the resources, that is, we are having abundant natural resources like iron, minerals, as well as agro-based. All these resources they just want to extract. They extracted also, and that was transferred to England, and they utilized those wonderful materials for their purpose in manufacturing into different mode, and that they utilized for their own countries purpose, but not for the India. So the entire resources was went to England, and people started paying more and more taxes. Entire treasure of Indians wealth was completely drained. That's why Dadabhai Nauroji scientifically stated that it is known as drain theory of the Britishers' cunning behavior. British facilitated the draining out of precious Indian resources into India, just like Dadabhai Nauroji, R.C. Dutt, the two published books explaining the draining of Indian resources into England. This period of moderate is called as age of liberal nationalism. The period between the common era, that is 1885 to 1920, is called age of moderates. So this was the first group. When we supposed to ask the demands and all, Britishers did not give any priority to that. So some of the National Congress people, they separated and they went against the Britishers and started forming their own group. They became radicals. Who are they? They are Aurobindo Ghosh, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bipin Chandra Pal. This you can easily remember that Lal Bal Pal will be called as radicals. The group of Congress criticized the soft stance of moderate are called the radicals. Lala Lajpat Rai, Bipin Chandra Pal and Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Aurobindo Ghosh were the major members of the radicals. Radicals called the moderates as political beggar because they asked in, through the constitutional method, and memorandum was presented. So it is a type of begging. So they said moderates are known as the political beggars. These are radicals: Lal Bal Pal, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Bipin Chandra Pal. So after this formation of radicals, here in the Bengal was a very vast and very big state. So the administration process, it's very difficult to manage. So what they did, according to the Lord Curzon, they suggested to divide the Bengal. So he divided the Bengal into East Bengal and West Bengal. West Bengal remain in India. East Bengal form presently we can say as Bangladesh. So students will be having a doubt that if in India map West Bengal, why it is in east part, madam? So because of this Lord Curzon, who partitioned India in 1905, and it was remained in India as West Bengal, East Bengal formed into East Pakistan. Later in 1971 it was turned as a Bangladesh with the support of India. So because of this Lord Curzon, he partitioned the India into two. Not Bengal into two. The intention to create the differences between the Hindus and Muslims, the communities, and the spirit of national freedom struggle. If Hindus and Muslims are together, they can easily conquer the entire India and they can overthrow the Britishers. So if they divide and rule, it is easy for them to easily conquer. That's why Britishers easily divided the Hindus and Muslims. Reasons for the withdrawal of the Bengal division division was within few days it was withdrawn. That is in 1911 it was withdrawn. Why? The division of Bengal in 1905 was approved by Indian National Congress. The division of Bengal resulted in the widespread protest across the country. The radicals took the issue to the doorsteps of common people radicals called for boycotting of foreign goods and institutions that encouraged, and Indians were encouraged to use only local goods. These are the reasons made the government to withdraw the partition of Bengal in 1911. So this fellow was the Lord Curzon who partitioned the Bengal. If not, the West Bengal also will be, the Bangladesh also will be in India only. So role of Bal Gangadhar Tilak in Indian independence movement is one of the important questions they asked. So who was he? He was a freedom fighter, and he was told Britishers, the Swaraj is my birthright. I would definitely get it back. Attaining complete freedom was the aim of radicals. Among the radicals, Bal Gangadhar Tilak is most prominent. They tried to organize the common people of India. They attempted to organize people by employing religious celebration too. Presently, what you are observing, Ganesha festival or Durga festival, all these, because of Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he called all the children and all the youngsters to the celebration, and he started provoking the Indians to fight against the Britishers. And what all the misbehavior did by the Britishers was explained to them. Through that, all the Indians started joining into radicals, and they went against the Britishers. Shivaji festival, Durga celebration, all these encouraged the Indians. Muslim League was born in 1906 to protest a Muslim identity. Tilak published the newspapers known as Kesari in Marathi, Maratha in English language. He organized common people to protest against the Britishers. The radical writing of the Tilak galvanized the common people. The British arrested Tilak due to this development. So he was provoking the normal people and the small children and the youngsters. This was a very little bit fearful situation for the Britishers, that if we allow Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he will make each and every youth to become strong and fight against the Britishers. So they arrested him. So what he did in the jail also, he returned. Tilak wrote a book known as Gita Rahasya in the prison, which further fueled the freedom fervor. See, finally he written the book that Gita Rahasya gave the way to all the youngsters. They started fighting against the Britishers on their own. Next comes the Bal Gangadhar Tilak and his slogan, Swaraj is my birthright, I shall have it. The last part of the lesson is the third group, that is revolutionaries in the Indian National Congress. They formed their own groups, small groups, which operated secretly to drive away the British out of the country. They used the weapons and secret meeting in the forest region or in an individual houses or remote places they used to meet, and they will manufacture all the bombs and the guns to use against the Britishers. So they employing violent methods of works called revolutionaries. 1 mark question if they ask, employing violent methods of work called as revolutionaries. So the youth are very much interested to use all these materials, and many joined in the revolutionaries. So among them are the usage of bombs, guns to achieve their goals. They are Rajguru, Bhagat Singh, Jatin Das, Chandrasekhar Azad, V.D. Savarkar, Ram Prasad Bismil, Aurobindo Ghosh are the major people who are there in the revolutionary group. So they made the secret organizations. The organizations' names are Lotus and Dragon, Gadha, Abhinava Bharati, Anushilana Samiti. So likewise they made their own groups and they started firing against the Britishers through using bombs and the guns, rifles, etc. So if you observe a Bhagat Singh movie in Hindi, which was acted by Amir Khan, if you observe, That movie tells about how the revolutionaries fought against the Britishers, how they nicely used the materials and all to against the Britishers can easily understand. Even one more movie has also come. One more person, his name I don't know. Okay. There are many more movies which have come related to freedom struggle. If you Google and you search revolutionaries, how they attacked against the Britishers, you can get to know the methods which they used. It is really fantastic. They attained the freedom after from the Japan taken support Subhash Chandra Bose with the Ras Bihari Bose, and later on he entered to Port Blair, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Later they entered to India to get the freedom, to drive away the Britishers, and they did, and they were success in that also. So they are revolutionaries. Thank you.